Hello friends, we meet again. Today I'm going to give you a video guide in how to play Future Tone with the PS4 controller. It's going to have a lot of my own style of techniques and tricks, or not really tricks, just how I managed to adapt to the new notes with the controller, despite the chart being created for the arcade gamepad, which is those big buttons that you can slap around. Yeah, so you want to know my style and you want to maybe get some tips, then I hope you enjoy what I'm going to show you in this video. If you think you're better than me, then obviously, why the hell are you in my video? Get the hell out of here, punk. You can do your own style. This is for people that are not too sure and they would like to have some advice. Then welcome. I am happy to show you. So I'm going to split this video into 5 sections. We'll mark the timers down below. The 5 categories I'll start with is the sliders first of all, then holds, then the macro settings, then how to read the notes, and the last section is just random, etc. So I hope you enjoy. Here we go. Okay, so first things first, if you're not sure who I am and just found this tutorial, I've been playing this Hatsune Miku game series for way too long. Started in Project Diva F Japanese, got released for the PS3. I didn't even buy it for the rhythm game part of it because I never liked rhythm games. I just bought it for the customization. And next thing I know, I'm like freaking addicted to trying to get the perfects, playing non-stop, and trying to get better, and then I discover edits, and holy shit, there's like way more insane stuff, and I'm even more addicted, and next thing I know, 3 years later, I'm still playing this damn game. So that's my background. Just comes to show anybody can play this game good if you spend enough time. For me, it was 3 years to get to where I am right now. So yeah, and just make sure that I'm not bullshitting you, okay? I'm going to show you my stats that I have in Future Tone, and then you can decide whether or not you feel my tutorial is worthy of your time. So here I got the time I played, about 178 hours since Future Tone released a month and a half ago. Alright, also I've got about 133 extreme perfects and about 29 extra extreme perfects. And just for your knowledge, I didn't even lock all the songs yet because I didn't really care about the easier charted songs, so basically I only played the 8.5 stars and above. So as you can see in this video here, I'm just showing you what I already learned how to perfect and what I have not. Some perfects will still have to redo because I did skip quite a lot of holds in some of them, but with my new techniques that I've discovered later on after learning how to use the macros, which I'll show you guys later, it's much easier to get the higher percentage and scores. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I'm the best player in Project Diva. I'm nowhere near close to that. I'm safe to say I'm in the top 10 from what I see in the high score rankings. Pretty much almost any single song, I can reach top 10 if I play that song enough. But we can safely say that the number 1 player on the PS4, and he does use a PS4 controller, is motherfucking Leaf Append. Yep. Oh, you got first place in the song? Oh, think again, man. He just hasn't had time for your crappy song to be number 1 in. You'll get to eventually, and you will be number 2, if not lower if somebody else beats you. But he's gonna be number 1 in every single song eventually, I guarantee you that. I don't know how he does it. He must be a robot or something. But he's able to pretty much have the dedication to replay any damn song until he gets near perfect. And I'm talking 0 fines perfect, no matter how hard that song is. As you can see here, he only focused on the songs that mattered, which is, the difficult songs. He's already mastered that. He's already worked his way down the 9 stars now. He's getting close. When he's done with that, I'm assuming he's going to move on to the 8.5 and so on and so forth. So, all you players that may have a number 2 or number 1 in the easier extremes, it's not gonna last forever. He's gonna beat you eventually. So it's safe to say he's the number 1 player on the PS4. And it's a fact that he does use the PS4 controller. I thought he uses a gamepad, but no, he uses a PS4 controller. And pretty sure he uses the same techniques that I use, which I'm going to show you, and also as Hildo, this other Japanese guy that I met streaming, who I would say is pretty close to number 2, if not number 2 player in the PS4 rankings. We all use very similar styles. So, yeah, okay, here we go. Part 1. Use the damn joysticks. It's the only way to go. Don't waste your damn macro slots for fucking 4 arrows. Don't think you can get away with just 2, because you need 4 arrows. Sometimes the arrows face the same way, so just 2 is not enough. You have to use all 4 to use this, which is a huge waste of your macro slots. So don't do it. Use the damn joysticks. That is all. I'm not going to even talk about the other methods that you can do. That should be common sense to anybody not to use those. So there's 2 types of people that's going to be watching my tutorial. There's going to be one type that does not care for the score and points. They just want a perfect. So in that case, you can skip this part because it's not going to help you. For the people that actually want to try and raise their points, the easiest way possible, then I'll show you my layout and how I do things. It is also very similar to how Leaf Append and Hildo do their layouts. Leaf Append I'm not sure, actually, but Hildo is the same way as me. Basically, for almost every single song, there's only a few select songs that we have to change this. The triggers are both going to be quads, as you can see here, so that any single time a frickin' hold note comes up, after we hit the hold note with our regular base button or D-pad, you just push down a free trigger and you continue. If there's more hold notes that come up, you hit it with the next trigger so you can continue the new hold. Then you can free up your original trigger. I'll demonstrate in a video so you can see what I'm talking about here, but it should be pretty straightforward. And this will work for almost every single song, no matter how difficult, because this is how I've been playing every damn song. And most of them I have learned how to do holds now with this method. The right bumper and left bumper I rarely use. Only a few times I need to use them. You could just macro them to whatever you like. Some people macro it as triplets because they don't like doing triplets the non-macro way. And some people macro like the opposites because they find it difficult to hit, like triangle X or square and circle. So it's up to you, whatever's easier for you. This is just how I do it. And yeah, like even the notes where it looks like I'm talking about the spacing, where the spacing right after the hold note there's another note. It's actually still possible to hit that trigger fast enough if you practice enough, and I'll show you this too to prove it. Just because there's a note right after the hold note doesn't mean you can't use my trigger method to continue the hold. It still works. Obviously, you could do it the other way, which is not using a macro, but that's up to you. This is just how I do it. This is how Hildo does it, and this is why he has like fucking number 2 in like any song that he tries. Since fucking motherfucking Leaf Append is number 1, so he'll always be number 2 to Leaf Append. Okay, this part is the arrows, or you could say multi-notes, the new type of arrows in Future Tone. So in the old PS3, Vita, whatever, PSP, there's always been one type of arrow, and it's only 4 kinds, up, down, left, right, and you just push both sides corresponding to that. So if it's up arrow, it's just D-pad, up, and triangle. And there was only one way to do the arrow. That's it, okay? You could cheat it, which some people did do that to save stamina because their left thumb sucks, so they would just hold down the D-pad and just tap the triangles if there was a string of up arrows, let's say. So sucks if you did that because now you no longer can cheat like that in Future Tone, so you're gonna wish that you practice your left thumb more.
because it's going to feel weak as shit now, especially with some of the newer doubles that are more tricky. So in Future Tone, there's basically, you could think of it as, instead of I gotta recognize 4 arrows, I have to now recognize 6 arrows. Except they're not arrows; they're just 2 notes tied together with a line. And the game has quite a few ways to spawn them too, which eventually you'll get the pattern. But my advice, because although it's only 6 types of patterns, which is the 4. The 2 of them, but 4 ways paired up, plus the 2 opposites, which is triangle, X, and square and circle. So that's how you get the 6. Yeah. There's the 2 ways though that you can hold it. So let's say it's a triangle and square, right? If you were to do it dual wield it, or this 2-handed style, like how I do my double notes, you could either do left thumb on the D-pad here for the square, and then your right thumb for the triangle. So that's one way to do this. Okay, you can reverse it. So now it's up D-pad, but right thumb is on the square. It's the exact same note, but it feels completely different. So you have to get used to that. To keep it simple, I just focused on one method for each type. So like for example, whenever it's the square and the circle, I always do it like this. I never do it like this. Always like this. Just to keep my brain not go crazy, basically. Try and think which combination should I do. So you'll come up with whatever is more comfortable for you if you choose to do my method. Obviously, there's also a few combinations which you could just what we call fat thumb with your one thumb, and the fatter your thumb, the better. You could just push together at the same time. You might see me do this sometimes with my triplets, where it was like triangle, square, and X. Okay, obviously I could do square and X as this, but it's not as consistent because of the directional pad. So rather than doing like that plus the triangle, okay, I would just fat thumb the square and X like this, because the way that my thumb is shaped, it is always going to hit the square and X at the same time. And then just use my left thumb for the triangle, and then I can get a perfect triplet every time without messing up if I do it this way. So there's a few ways that you can do it, but my advice to you is to first get the basics down, learn the 6 types of doubles, and do it your own way until you can just look at it and it just feels like you're not even reading the notes. It just looks like another type of arrow to you. And it took a while for me to get that, because obviously the first week when I started playing, I did not understand what's the best way, but after that you get the hang of it if you play long enough. Okay, so that's how I do my doubles. The triples is the same thing. Like I said, due to the way I do my macros, since these are always the quads, my bumpers are usually free. Some people use their bumpers to macro the triples. There's 2 triples that's very common in the charts, and the other 2 triples, they rarely come up. So the one that's really common is the triple that's either missing the triangle or it's missing the circle. Okay, these are the most common triples that you'll see. There's almost every single triple that comes up, it's either one of those 2. Only a few charts in the harder extremes that they break away from that pattern, and then they make it so that it's missing either a square or an X. If you see in the pictures I've been posting, it's very easy to tell which is the common triples, and some of you must have seen this or noticed this by now. If they spawn the triangle pattern on the screen, where it's got the 3 the 3 shapes, and then they're connected like a triangle. Whether the triangle is pointing up or down does not matter. If the triangle is closer to the left side of the screen, it's always missing the circle. It's the one with the triangle, basically. So it's always going to be square and X plus the triangle. And the triangle that shaped the spawn on the right side of the screen is always missing the triangle. So it's always got the circle. So it's always the square X plus the circle. So me personally, I've always just instantly, without even thinking about it, just pushed the directional pad down diagonal left, right, which counts as a square and X, and then just a circle or a triangle. If I see a triangle spawn on the left, oh, I hit the triangle. If it's spawning on the right, oh, I hit the circle. Same thing if they don't do the triangle spawn and they vertically spawn the notes, which you can see in the diagram here. If you see the 3 notes stuck together with no spacing in between, it's the common notes. And then you just gotta quickly look, is it missing the triangle or is it missing the circle? Or if you do the opposite way, you know, oh, I see the triangle, so it's a triangle, or oh, I see the circle, so it's a circle one. That's how you can really easily read it most of the time. The other ones, like I said, the less common ones, it's not as common. When you do see it, you just have to memorize it, and it's not so bad. But having these ones memorized, the common triplets, it just makes your life a lot easier. Okay, alright, so move on to the next part now.
So for this part, it's to hopefully help you read the notes a little bit better, as there is a pattern to everything that you see. As you probably expected, but maybe weren't sure. Or maybe you knew, but you wanted to maybe know a better way to do it. Due to how the shapes appear on the chart, they appear that way for a reason. It's to follow the order, the layout of the original controller, which is on the arcade machines, where they only had 4 buttons, and its layout was a line. So you had just 4 buttons straight as a line, which is a little bit different because on the controller it's more like you could say a diamond shape on both sides. So if you can kind of convert it in your head from the line method to how you were going to hit it on your controller, it makes it so much easier for you to read these patterns, which is why I was telling you guys how important it is to figure out how to hit those new double notes comfortably, so that you just treat them like arrows. Once you treat them like arrows, then on top of the combination with this, able to read them, it makes it super simple. So my rule of thumb, because like I'll give you an example, just due to the layout, the square and circle shape, you will never ever see them together like side by side as a multi-note, because there's a gap in between them on the actual arcade layout. You can use this to your advantage to helping you read all of the notes. Whenever lots of these notes that are multi-notes, they would always share one same shape, and then only one would change. Maybe they'll do it for only halfway and then they'll switch it up, but there's pretty much always a pattern. As you can see in this first picture here, we have the Kippo Industry. So you can see here the common shape here is just the X's. So just due to how I read things with my brain, whatever the common shape is that I see right away, I would always think with my right hand first. I guess because I think with my right side of my brain. I'm not left-handed, if that makes any difference. So I would just instinctively, on my right thumb, I would, go towards that shape. In this case, it's an X. And then now that I know that it's just all X's, all I have to worry about, I'm not even, this takes only a fraction of a second for me to realize this, provided I'm not dead tired or whatever. So once I know that, then I just have to look at the remaining notes and hit it with my left thumb. So it's basically as good as my left thumb can keep up with my right thumb. In this situation right here, it just starts off as a square, then a circle, then a square. So I just gotta hit the left, the right, then left on my left thumb, and not even thinking about my right thumb. I'm just tapping the X 3 times. So that's how the process works in my head. You can see here in the next diagram, it's very similar. This time it's the square that's the common denominator. So my right thumb again would be on the square, and then I would hit the X, triangle X with my left thumb. But it would be with the D-pad, so it would be down, up, down. That's pretty much how I process the string of double notes. If it gets way more complicated, like involving triplets and doubles, then that's just something I have to break down into different groups. Kind of like that Saihate chart that I did. I had to break each individual groups so that I knew what was the best way for me to do it. And I worked on each group separately until I could do them all together at once. So in this next part, you can see here the Magical Sound Shower. It's the same thing. I slowed it down for you guys here. It's basically the exact same thing, except they just throw a whole bunch at you. So you see just a bunch of circles. So right away, right thumb on the circle. Then my left thumb just has to hit X, square, and then triangle. Then it's just a slide, and then oh, look at that. Next one is just a bunch of triangles. So right thumb on triangle, and I just forget about it. I just know I got tap triangle 3 times with my right thumb. And the only reading I'm really doing is with my left thumb on the D-pad and what shapes I gotta hit. So many charts followed to a degree this type of pattern. You could do the opposite way. Some people feel like it might be easier, I guess, because when you do it this way, technically your right thumb is doing the easier work because it's just tapping the same button, and your left thumb is the one that needs to switch like all the different notes. And because most people's left thumb is weaker than their right thumb, they prefer to give the easier job to the left thumb, which is to tap the common notes, and make the right thumb tap, all the different switching notes. So if that's easier for you, that's okay. I only did it my way, even though it's more work from my left thumb. It's because brain-wise, it's easier for me to, as like a reflex, it just kicks in. Because whatever the most common one is what I see first, and whatever I see first, I tend to use my right thumb first. So that's why I do it in that order. It does mean my left thumb is doing more of the challenging work, but my left thumb isn't that strong, and I was able to do quite a lot of stuff this way, even on like the 240 or 220 BPMs at this method. It's always consistent. So with a little bit of training, you can get your left thumb like this too. But if you feel like the opposite way of mine is easier, just for how you read things, then do it that way. Then don't do my way. Then do your way. I'm just telling you how I do it.
So the final tip I have for you is how to hold the PS4 controller so that you don't fuck up. Because I made this mistake when I first switched from PS3 controller to PS4, just due to how I always complain how curvy they are. All right. When I held it like I normally hold my PS3 controller, without realizing it, during like let's say faster notes came or something, where I was like pushing the multi notes, I would accidentally bump the trigger, and these triggers are super sensitive. That even the slightest nudge, it will go off, and then you'll get it wrong, like a mistake. And at first, I thought it was just my controller being junk. So I got so fed up that I literally bought 2 more controllers just to see if they did the same thing, and they did. So I went crazy. I thought fucking PS4 controllers are the shittiest controllers ever, until I realized that well, it was actually my bad. Sorry, Sony. It wasn't your controller, it was me. So I had to change the way that I held it, and what I do now. And again, everybody's got different hands, so it might not work for you, but I have to be very careful. And my middle finger, both my middle fingers, I make sure that they are nice and snug below, right around right here, and it kind of clings on really tight, so that I never make the mistake of accidentally hitting these or pushing down the triggers. Okay, so because my middle finger, right, is under this groove part, and my index fingers are literally pointing straight ahead, there will be no longer be any mistakes of accidentally pushing the bumper or the triggers. And because I'm constantly switching between my triggers anyways, then nothing to really worry about. But it takes a little bit of practice, because it is very weird feeling at first to try and play while your middle finger is sticking out like this, right? But eventually you get used to it. It's either that or you come over your own way, depending on how your hands are shaped. My hands are not that big. I'm pretty, because I'm Asian, I'm not that big. So it works for me for this style how I hold a controller. The way that I held a PS3 controller was completely different, so that when I tried to play it on the PS4 controller first time, I kept messing up, and I just thought it was bad D-pad or something, so that it triggered the wrong button. But after I realized this and then changed my the method that I held the controller, I never got that mistake again. That I was wondering where the fuck did that mistake come from? I swear I hit the right button, and blaming it on the D-pad or something. But no, it was just accidentally hitting the bumpers or the trigger. So that's it. Hopefully you learned something from this, and yeah, get better. See ya.